Ecosystem-Based Approaches in Climate Resilience Building, Perspectives from Brazil and the Philippines is co-hosted by the UPLB Interdisciplinary Studies Center for Integrated Natural Resources and Environment Management, led by Dr. Maricel T. Villamayor, and the Embassy of the Federative Republic of Brazil in Manila through His Excellency Gilberto Fonseca Guimaraes de Mora, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary. For this episode, our goal is to first discuss the climate change context in each country, examine the enabling conditions and challenges for NbS uptake and implementation, present successful NbS case studies for climate resilience, and, if possible, propose some policy-relevant framework to support adoption of NbS for resilience building in national and local policies. To officially open our session for today and highlight the crucial role of having this webinar episode, we are honored to hear the opening remarks from the First Secretary of the Embassy of Brazil in Manila, Mr. Juan Oliveira Bonfim. Mr. Bonfim, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to all participants joining us from the Philippines, and good evening to our colleagues and friends connecting from Brazil. Dear Liz Silva, Senior Science Research Specialist at the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Dear Dr. David Mota Marques, Professor at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul. Dear Dr. Maricel Villamayor, Director of the University of the Philippines Los Baños Interdisciplinary Studies Centers for Integrated Natural Resources and Environmental Management. Dear colleagues from the Brazilian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, esteemed collaborators from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, representatives of the Philippine government and members of the Philippine academic community, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ambassador of Brazil to the Philippines, Gilberto Fonseca Guimaraes de Moura, I'm pleased to open this episode of the Integrated Natural Resources and Environmental Management 360 webinar series dedicated to nature-based solutions and ecosystem-based approaches for climate resilience, with perspectives from Brazil and the Philippines. This webinar reflects the growing partnership between the Embassy of Brazil and the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, particularly through its interdisciplinary studies centers for integrated natural resources and environmental management, on a subject of direct relevance to both our countries: how nature, science, and public policy can work together to strengthen climate resilience. The topic is urgent. Climate change is increasing risks, deepening vulnerabilities, and exposing communities to more frequent and destructive extreme events. The Philippines faces recurring typhoons, floods, droughts, sea level rise, coastal erosion, and mounting pressure on marine and coastal ecosystems. Brazil, for its part, has also faced severe climate-related disasters, including floods, droughts, fires, and landslides. The devastating floods in the state of Rio Grande do Sul in 2023 were a painful reminder that climate risk is no longer theoretical. It is already a human, social, economic, and environmental reality. These events show that resilience cannot be built only through emergency response after disasters occur. It must be built before the crisis through planning, science, institutional capacity, and the protection and restoration of the ecosystem that sustain life. This is the central value of nature-based solutions. By protecting, conserving, restoring, and sustainably managing forests, watersheds, wetlands, mangroves, coastal areas, and other ecosystems, countries can reduce climate risks while also supporting biodiversity, livelihoods, food security, water regulation, and community well-being. Nature-based solutions are therefore not a secondary environmental concern. They are a practical and necessary part of climate adaptation. Brazil and the Philippines have much to share in this field. Both are tropical and mega-diverse countries. Both face serious climate vulnerabilities. Both also possess rich ecosystems, strong scientific communities, and local knowledge that can help turn environmental protection into a pillar of resilience building. Today's discussion will allow us to examine the climate context in both countries, exchange concrete experiences, and reflect on the conditions needed to scale up nature-based solutions. Financing, governance, technical capacity, institutional coordination, and the integration of ecosystem-based approaches into national and local policies remain essential challenges. I hope this webinar will help identify practical lessons and open paths for a stronger cooperation between Brazilian and Philippine institutions. Climate change is moving fast, so our policies, partnerships, and implementation efforts also have to move faster. I thank the University of the Philippines, Los Baños Interdisciplinary Studies Centers for Integrated Natural Resources and Environment Management for this important initiative and for inviting the Embassy of Brazil to co-organize it. I also thank our invited speakers who will share valuable insights with us today. I extend particular thanks to the Climate Resilience and Adaptation Scientific Community of the State of Rio Grande do Sul and to the Science, Technology and Innovation Secretariat of the State of Rio Grande do Sul also for nominating Dr. Davi Marques as the Brazilian speaker for this event. So I wish everyone a productive and meaningful webinar, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonfim. We are truly grateful for your inspiring message as we move forward for a nature-positive future, and for your effort in making this episode a reality. Also, before we proceed now with our next part of our program, may we also invite our Zoom panelists to kindly turn on their cameras for a quick photo opportunity, which will be guided by Ms. Pia Montoya. Okay, we request everyone if you can open your cameras. Okay, we hope you can keep your smiles because we already have over 150 participants in our episode for today, so it might take a while before we can capture every one of us. Okay.
Hi everyone, let's go to the first panel. 1, 2, 3, smile. Next slide. 1, 2, 3, smile. Next slide. 1, 2, 3, smile. Next slide. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you very much for your cooperation in maintaining your smiles for a bit longer. Thank you very much, Ms. Pia, and thank you again for the bright smiles that everyone has provided us for today. So a few reminders as you listen for our webinar this afternoon. 1, please make sure that your microphones are muted, and feel free to as well to drop your questions in the chat box so that our INREM staff can take note of them for the open forum later. And if you are watching via live stream, please use the hashtag INREM360 when posting on your social media accounts. For a more INREM360 webinar vibe, please use the INREM360 Zoom background in the chat box. And if possible, can you kindly rename your accounts to as follows? Your name _ the institution where you are affiliated with. Okay, so now that we have our reminders for today, and we are now our session is formally open by Mr. Bonfim. May we now call on our first speaker for today. So our first speaker for today is Ms. Liz C. Silva. Ms. Liz Silva is a Philippine licensed environmental planner and development management officer at the Department of Environment and Natural Resources of the Philippine Climate Change Service. She is currently SVP from the Climate Change Information and Technical Support Division. She leads the waste sector for the National GHG Inventory and is a key member of the Philippine National GHG Inventory Team, covering waste, IPPU, and FOLU sectors. She also sits at the NDC Technical Working Group focused on the DNR-related policies and measures. With over a decade of experience in climate change mitigation, she specializes in GHG inventories, transparency reporting, and capacity building. She has participated in several trainings on GHG and climate mitigation. She has developed training modules and conducted workshops on national, sectoral, community, and entity-level GHG inventories. She is currently involved in just transition, loss and damage, mitigation, and Article 6, the UNFCCC Conference of Parties, long-term strategies, and updating of the nationally determined contributions. She holds a master's in urban and regional planning from the University of the Philippines in Diliman and has co-authored studies on municipal solid waste management and GHG emissions reduction. Partners, without further ado, let us welcome Ms. Liz Silva of the DENR Climate Change Service.
Thank you, Sir Kyle. Good morning and good evening to the other side of the world. I think it's 11 hours or something for the time difference. Sir Kyle, can I now share my screen? Okay. Okay. So first and foremost, I would like to thank the UPLB-INREM for the invitation and for sharing as well, for letting us share the nature-based solutions in the Philippines. So for context, I will be dealing as well with the context of the Philippines in the climate change, the gaps. I will also share case studies and our current policy directions, specifically for the DNR, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, where I am employed of. Okay, so let's begin. So for our context, the Philippines is once again the number one in the 2025 World Risk Index. So flood risks in the Philippines actually vary significantly from region to region and are influenced by geography, infrastructure, and spatial planning. We are the number one for a couple of years now, consecutively. So that is our major drive for our climate action, for very ambitious climate action that we have. Next, why nature-based solutions matter in the Philippines. As mentioned, and as stated in the report, the Philippines is among the most climate-exposed country globally. So we experience flooding, storm surges, ecosystem degradation, as well as other climate change impacts. We see that the nature-based solutions should complement infrastructure by restoring ecosystem that protect communities. So we see examples of mangrove restoration, watershed protection, and urban green infrastructure in the Philippines. Later, we will discuss some of the concrete examples that we have in the Philippines and as we have documented them. The major basis that we have for pushing for the nature-based solutions in the Philippines is our 1987 Philippine Constitution, Article 2, Declaration of Principles and State Policies, Section 15 and Section 16. So for the Section 15, promote the right to health of the people, and for the Section 16, advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature. So our priorities on NbS, number one, we should increase awareness and understanding among stakeholders, policymakers, and the private sector on the effectiveness and multiple benefits of NbS. Number two, identify NbS standards that are contextualized to the country across applicable land classifications and projects. Number three, adapting a national policy on nature-based solutions and its applications to enable multi-stakeholder partnerships. And the last, measuring progress using standardized metrics and monitoring, reporting, and verification systems for nature-based solutions, including robust scientific research, data transparency, and accessibility. So, even if we are just talking of NbS since last year for the strengthening of our NbS efforts, our plans and programs have already integrated NbS. So, the first three would be the National Adaptation Plan 2023-2050. It includes NbS as the core strategy for adaptation, especially in the disaster risk reduction, water resource management, and biodiversity conservation. Next is the nationally determined contribution in support of our first nationally determined contribution submitted in 2021. So it recognizes the role of forests, coastal systems, and green infrastructure in achieving mitigation and adaptation goals. In our ongoing updating of our nationally determined contributions, we have now our forestry and other land uses. So specifically, we have policies and measures related to the nature-based solutions. Third would be the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan, so NDRIM plan. NbS are included as an output under the Philippine NDRIM Plan 2020 to 2030, which is where the DNR is the lead agency. We have another three. So for our DNR's program, Enhanced National Greening Program, it includes reforestation program supporting carbon sequestration, biodiversity, and sustainable livelihoods. Our Philippine Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan 2024 to 2040 aligns with the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework and promotes ecosystem-based approaches to conservation. And last is the Integrated Coastal Management and Blue Economy Initiatives. So we support NbS for coastal resilience, including mangrove rehabilitation, coral reef restoration, and marine protected area. We are in the works as well for the Philippine Blue Economy Roadmap to guide these blue economy initiatives. For the DNR, we spearheaded the development of our national nature-based solution policy. So this would be in a form of a DNR administrative order, which establishes a comprehensive policy framework to institutionalize, integrate, and mainstream NbS across all DNR programs, plans, and operations. So the DNR, as a background, is mandated to handle all marine terrestrial ecosystems in the Philippines. Okay. So the policy direction is more of the mainstreaming of NbS and adopting the NbS standards. So specifically, we are looking at adopting the IUCN global standards. NbS protects, manages, and restores ecosystems, providing both human well-being and biodiversity benefits. For policy integration, we are looking at mainstreaming requires embedding NbS into our national climate plans, sectoral policies, and land use planning. And last, utilizing the IUCN self-assessment tool to help ensure projects meet criteria such as economic feasibility, biodiversity net gain, and adaptive management. So the rationale for the development of the policy is to address the increasing and interconnected challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, and ecosystem degradation in the Philippines. It is also developed to unify and standardize ecosystem-based approaches across DNR and partners. And the policy aims to position NbS as a cost-effective and sustainable approach to achieving climate resilience, disaster risk reduction, food and water security, biodiversity conservation, and green economic growth in support of the development agenda of the president. So we can see near here now the legal basis. So we anchor our policy from the international frameworks, our current national laws, and our existing plans and orders. And the salient features for the next 3 or 4 slides, I will run through the salient features specifically for this policy. So for this slide, we are looking at the development of the localized NbS standards aligned again with our IUCN global standards. And for the coverage, we wanted it to cover all ecosystems, land classifications, project types, and other special areas, all specifically under the mandates of the DNR. Fourth would be adoption and contextualization of the 8 criteria of the IUCN global standards for NbS. So the 8 criterion are here. For the institutionalization, we are to create the NbS Technical Working Group in the DNR. This one would be handled by the Climate Change Service and other services together with our regional offices, our provincial offices, and our community, environmental, and natural resources office. And last would be the development and mainstreaming of NbS standards. We are to establish a DNR registry of NbS standards and recognize NbS projects. For the others, to support the operationalization of the policy, we are looking at the research and development. We have our ERDB as the research arm of the DNR, communications, education, and public awareness, capacity building, as well as our monitoring and evaluation framework. I am also now introducing to you the Nature-Based Solutions Support Network. So this is a multi-stakeholder network of the government with our civil society organizations, academe, and other partners with the purpose of strengthening coordination, knowledge sharing, and high-integrity NbS implementation in the Philippines. So this one is if you want to talk with the NbS team, we have this team as the support network for the NbS. So the core objectives would be the shared understanding, which means they do conduct the meetings to have a common definition, principles, and approach to NbS among stakeholders. We support creation of the long-term NbS vision, promote and showcase high-quality NbS programs and projects nationwide, and we provide regular platforms for dialogue, collaboration, and exchange of best practices. So this is currently working, and they will cement their network to a memorandum of understanding. Okay. For our case studies, first and foremost, we have this Climate Resilient Cities project actually in 2024. So this project produced the nature-based solutions menu for 6 cities in the Philippines. So we have here Batangas City, Borongan City, Cotabato City, Iloilo City, Legazpi City, and Zamboanga City. So each city has their own NbS menu ranging from a minimum of 5 to up to 20 NbS approaches and ecosystem-based approaches that they can use together for combating the climate change impacts in their cities. Another one is a project on the localization of the National Adaptation Plan. So based on this information, the DNR, the Climate Change Commission, Iloilo Province, and the British Embassy look at the co-development of 7 projects, as you can see here, in the province and to a rice sector. So the project outlined in red is actually the priority investment for mobilization under the adaptation investment platform. So for one sector, rice sector, we can produce at least 7 NbS projects if we are to look at the localization of our NbS in our provinces and cities. Next are other examples that are actually ongoing and part of our NbS projects in the Philippines. First one is on the Manila Bay rehabilitation. So the Manila Bay Rehabilitation Program integrates wetland rehabilitation as a core strategy to attain Class SB water quality. So using mangroves, urban lagoons, esteros, and riparian wetlands as nature-based solutions to control pollution from tributaries, enhance natural filtration processes, and restore the ecological functions critical to long-term bay rehabilitation. Next, in urban areas, we have the implementation of the Urban Biodiversity Program in Quezon City. So it will adapt Madison Park along Aurora Boulevard and transform it into a Gabay Kalikasan Park. So an urban green park model. So it engaged the private sector to support sustainable urban greening. Also, we have the creation of mini forests, linear parks, pocket gardens, and tree corridors within the city. So, Community Pan Tree Program distributed 100,000 seedlings to communities across Metro Manila with a survival rate of 80%. Okay. And for our enhanced national greening program, this is the status as of March 2026. So we are now in at least 12,000 hectares program within water-stressed areas. We are within the watersheds, and we are supporting 100 hectares of converge initiative areas. And last but not the least, at least 5,000 hectares within key biodiversity. So all of our ENGP programs are located in these areas. Next, we have here the Del Carmen Mangrove Reserve in Siargao, Island Protected Landscapes and Seascapes. So over 900 residents and thousands of visitors benefit from fishing, aquaculture, recreation, and tourism opportunities and the protection provided by the CMR against natural hazards. So local communities celebrate mangroves and raise funds for their restoration through annual events including the Bakhaw or the Mangrove Festival and the Siargao International Marathon. Next is this one from the Agusan Marsh in the left photo, and the photos at the right are actually the products from our NbS sites. So for the most significant NbS in the Agusan Marsh is its natural water retention. So the marsh spans over 110,000 hectares and absorbs excess water from 9 major rivers. Additionally, the indigenous Manobo people have developed a social NbS by adapting their entire lifestyle to the wetlands' natural cycles rather than draining it. And we have our new project, and it will be transformed into a program. So we have now the green assessment framework. So it's called GAF. It is a framework used to determine the magnitude and typhoon-related damages to biodiversity, ecosystems, and ecosystem services. So this is more of a response actually to the onslaught of Category 5, so Super Typhoon Odette in 2021. So for adoption of the DNR for gathering pre- and post-disaster biodiversity and ecosystem information that will provide the basis for the formulation of management recommendations for green resilience planning. And this is just the flow of stage 1, 2, and 3 for the green assessment framework. So okay. And for our key challenges, we still have the key challenges. First one is the valuation gap. So natural capital is often undervalued in national accounting, so making gray infrastructure appear more economically viable than green alternatives. As a sharing, we have passed the PENCAS law, so ecosystems and natural accounting system in the Philippines. So we are now have the ongoing natural capital accounting is spearheaded by our PSA with the DNR as well for our natural resources accounting. Next, governance mismatch. So ecological restoration timelines, normally 10 to 20 years, often clash with our local political cycles, which spans only 3 years, leading to the discontinuity or abandonment of long-term NbS projects. Technical capacity. Still, there is a shortage of localized technical standards and engineering guidelines for NbS. That's why it is part of our DNR's policy, ongoing policy. And last, financing barriers. So local governments often struggle with complex climate finance requirements, including development the climate rationale and meeting proposal standards to access funds such as the People's Survival Fund. So our People's Survival Fund is specifically for adaptation fund, but it is not yet fully utilized by almost all of the LGUs. So as of the moment, if I'm not mistaken, we have 28 projects since its passing of the law. So it's still not utilized by our LGs. And last slide, conclusion and call to action. So NbS success in the Philippines is driven by collaboration. So still, key policy and financing gaps remain. And our call to action in the DNR is to strengthen partnerships across sectors, increase investments in NbS, and promote community-driven and science-based approaches. And with that, we would like to thank again the UPLB-INREM for the invitation and for letting us share the NbS approaches in the Philippines. Thank you so much. You're muted, Sir Kyle. Sir Kyle, you're muted po.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, take three. I'll do it again. So, Ms. Silva, that was a truly remarkable presentation on the NBS context in the Philippines, and it was a truly great learning experience. So, for our next poll, I hope our participants can hold their questions a bit longer because we will have the open forum after both our speakers have presented their presentations. So now we will learn more about the NBS context all the way from Brazil in South America. And we are honored to have with us today our guest speaker from Brazil. So our guest speaker holds a degree in biological sciences from the Pontifical Catholic University of Rio Grande do Sul, the PUCRS, a master's degree in ecology from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, or PUCRS, a master's degree in ecology from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, or UFRGS, and a doctorate in engineering from the Imperial College of Science and Technology at the University of London. Currently, he is a full professor at the Institute of Hydraulic Research at the University of the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul. He conducts research in the areas of applied limnology, focusing mainly on the structure and functioning of aquatic ecosystems, ecosystem services, and the integration between biological and physical processes, including limnology, hydrology, and hydrodynamics. His studies encompass the matching of watersheds and lagoons or reservoirs, as well as the analysis of processes and scales associated with climate change in lakes, reservoirs, wetlands, and floodplains. He also works on the development of eco-technologies applied to water resources. Currently, he coordinates the National Institute of Science and Technology in Nature-Based Solutions. He is an associate editor of the journal Inland Waters and an active member of the Global Lake Ecological Observation Network, an international collaborative network. Participants, without much delay, let us welcome Dr. David Mota Marquez from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil. Dr. Marquez, the floor is now yours.
Good morning for you. Thanks for your invitation, kind invitation. I appreciate also the Brazilian embassy to call me and make possible our links and my part of on this webinar. I heard with attention Mrs. Silva, and I'm going through a different way. I'm a scientist, so my key points will be through some specific aspects of research and development on natural-based solutions. I don't have a presentation to you, but I go through these key points. One thing I would like to put forward is what are really natural-based solutions. Most of the time, we have buzzwords in science and now in governments. And also in Brazil, NbS are a keyword now in any government action. It doesn't matter, the federal government or state government. So this concept and practice are really new? No, they are new. For the last decade or a couple of decades, you see the development of this concept of natural-based solutions. But natural-based solution has been on the road for decades. It's not new. If you check all the list of natural-based solutions you have now, there are already methods, methodologies, techniques, procedures that already exist, either in research mode or already in applied mode. So I like to keep this really clear as a scientist. The concept, actual nature-based solution, was preceded by what was already known as ecotechnology or ecological engineering. And these two words came from a large work was done last century, in the 50s of last century. That was the beginning of it, when you established first the ecosystem ecology principles, structure and function. That means physical, chemical, and biological parts of an ecosystem put together and with results that were interesting for us or not directly. So the idea was to mimetize natural ecosystems, or that means engineering parts of the ecosystem, so you could design them and control them, and so get a service out of it. So from that point onwards, you saw a large development of not just research, but also large-scale applications of these concepts and of these processes. I can give you some good examples that you know perhaps. Let's say for domestic wastewater, gray water, or acid mine drainage. For instance, wastewater lagoons for municipal wastewater treatment with or without floating microphytes. This is not new. By the beginning of last century, 1901, the first system was implemented in Texas, United States. So on those days, they knew already that throwing wastewater in a pond, the water will get improved. So they didn't know a thing about systems ecology or natural-based systems. To tell you this, I don't have the number in Brazil, but about 25% of all municipal wastewater treatment facilities in the United States are based on these wastewater lagoons. So we say it's an old system, actually. You didn't know about it as natural-based solution. Another example, large scale, I'm giving you large scale examples, is overland flow systems. Those are really neat systems. They are grass covered slopes that were used to spread wastewater. And the first systems were already in practice in 19th century. So in those days, they didn't know what was a nature-based solution. But you see that large systems already playing their role on removing waste from waste. Another example is land farming. Land farming has been used to dispose biosolids, different kinds of biosolids. It's like farming. You just add biosolids in your soil and treat the soil as you treat any agricultural procedure. But based on those principles, you see, these are already systems in existence before the 50s of last century. But based on those ecosystem ecology principles, structure, and function, uh, constructed wetlands were a derived system. These constructed wetlands are now the basic, the basis for most of the natural-based solution development in the world. But they are not new. They start last century. Systems like uh, surface flow, they emulate the natural wetlands. Basically, natural wetlands have a surface flow, but they have subsurface flows. That's an adaptation of the system where the flow goes through the support, not over the support. And most recently, you have this vertical flow wetlands, constructed wetlands. It's called the French system. As you say, you have natural systems being developed by try and error, and now you have a large number of systems, mainly constructed wetlands, being applied based on hard science. Uh, these based solutions have a large number of benefits, either the ones that were developed without any science based, and the ones that came after with a large science based. So they're passive systems. They don't need help. They're just out there working on their own. They're cost effective. That's why they're being called now more and more. Their low maintenance is really good when you compare with gray infrastructure. They are energy efficient. They don't need extra energy to just work based on natural energy like sun or gravity. They are reliable and effective treatment systems when constructed and operated correctly. Something can add to these constructed systems are their habitat for local species. So we need to consider landscape as part of the benefits of this natural-based solution. So a solution for a problem of available habitat for biodiversity. But they all really a large challenge. They require a substantial amount of land to construct. Why? Because they follow the natural system laws. So they work on the very same rates. They need more space, and then to be compatible with the natural system. Remember, you are mimetizing natural systems not mimetized just by the photo. They need to structure and function, and the same agents as like biological agents to be compatible and comparable. In urban areas, you have a challenge for this. So urban areas already established, they don't have room to develop large-scale natural-based solutions unless they are out there already. Most of the urban areas are conflicted areas, so they don't have room for more large, uh, um, systems to deal with simple things like wastewater or stormwater. So to consider natural-based solutions on this scale, you need new development to be included in a new development of urban areas and not on old areas. So this is one key point for natural-based solutions. Of course, in the rural areas, you can deal easily with this kind of natural-based solution because you have space. So most of the dwellings are small, or number of urban areas have small dwellings, and they're really good for the application of this kind of natural solution. Coming back to something is dear to us on our state, um, it's stormwater in our urban areas. There's a real problem. Uh, Most of cities are not prepared for that. They're developed just covering the regional soil with concrete and tarmac and so on. So again, space is really scarce. You don't have room for that. So these large systems are not applicable to urban areas to control also stormwaters. What you can do, it's retrofitting green parks to hold flows and infiltration. This can be done, have been done, but most of the times ask for a real change of these areas uh, to be able to be used as a natural-based solution for stormwater. Some green parks actually have been designed from scratch to receive and hold stormwater. So again, it's not new; it already exists. A couple of small solutions have been applied worldwide are green roofs. Green roofs can be applied elsewhere, on your building, on your house, doesn't matter. It's really easy to build. So in urban areas, you can start using those. Perhaps government could implement some policy to increment the use of green roofs. Also, it's also a fashion these days to have green walls. So they have a benefit to easy to implement and are good for heat comfort. So avoid too much heat over, well, at least for tropical countries like ours. So it's good for that purpose. It's not difficult to build them. Also, we have rain gardens. Rain gardens are any small patch of land in an urban area where it can fit grassland or something. Let's say sidewalks, the, the division between two lanes of an avenue. So it's quite common over here. Also, it's in fashion building green balconies across the globe. You see all new buildings with these balconies covered with vegetation. Again, they're good to control heat and retain small amount of carbon. It's not that much, but still give it a different feeling. And I've noticed also that now they're building urban forests based on the local biodiversity, trying to rebuild a couple of small forests. This is really good to mainly avoid heat islands in cities. Now, these are small nature-based solutions or appliance to stormwater in a city. But large-scale process can also be used are used and are new. Let's say allowing rivers to take their old place. I mean, you need to disrupt dikes, allowing the water to flow across what was supposed to be their own territory through controlled processes. This has been done elsewhere, in specific on large rivers that cross small countries. I've seen this in Europe. It's a good natural-based solution to control floods, and at the very same time allowing to enrich the these old flooding plains. Something important for us is reformatting river channels. You see, most of the time you tend to open channels or uh, remove sediment from river channels to make sure that water flows faster downriver. And that's a really huge problem when you see this water going to your neighbor and flooding your neighbor backyard. So the idea is to reformatting these river channels, meandering these rivers, again, reducing the velocity of flows, holding the water back where it's supposed to be, and also promoting uh, the accumulation of sediment where used to accumulate in the past. Actually, there's an EPA manual for this purpose. It's already well established. It needs a lot of understanding of hydraulics and hydrodynamics. One simple thing that perhaps also associated with rivers is river logging. So tree trunks may be a menace for navigation, but they're really part of these aquatic ecosystems. Uh, Most of them they stick on rocks, lodge in bends in rivers, or snag on the bottom. It can be a problem for navigation, but still, it's part of a river, gives it structure, gives function. So I just went through a couple of concepts and give you the origin of ecosystem ecology, principle of structure and function that guides large-scale uh, systems based on specific aspects of ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem. I'm talking about aquatic ecosystems I work with. And putting again that nature-based solutions is not new, it's old, and has been given different names along the time, but still they're out there. Most of what we know as natural-based solution nowadays, and I really appreciate the previous presentation, there's a lot of them on there. They are new, they already exist. They're just putting in a nice name, a frame name that can be used by governments policies for environmental purpose. Well, saying so, what are we doing in Brazil? Well, it's not that complicated. You put together several research groups already researching natural-based solutions for the last decades, at least 20 decades, 30 decades, organized as the National Institute of Science and Technology for Natural-Based Solutions. This is a large conglomerate of scientists. It is a very diverse group with diverse interests, and that's really good because you don't stay in a specific point. There is a large number of interests, large number of science being lanes being developed on this major subject. This large group, diverse group, interacts strongly with the international partners, different countries. This is a part of our mission. And as a note, we'd like to connect with you people in scientists in Philippines. We don't have any contact with you, so I guess it's a good opportunity to start this contact, and perhaps the embassy could help us with that. What we do on this institute is you have four main axes of action or research. Let's start with first one is housing. Uh, you are trying to implement NbS in buildings, focusing on water conservation and management at the patch level. That means the water you produce in your patch needs to stay in your patch for under specific conditions, right? Some counties are already some specific rules for this. Most of them are based on gray infrastructure. So On the infrastructure axis, or the infrastructure axis is dedicated to development, application, and evaluation of NbS, focused on sanitation, water management, and sustainability of urban and rural systems. As you know, Brazil is a large country, and rural systems are really important for us in terms of production of grains and so on, and protein. But they need to be integrated on this system, and understanding there are NBS available and practical to sustain their development. Another axis is urban. It's the urban rivers axis. Most of the cities, I don't know Philippines, but right now in my home city, I have a lake and five rivers, big rivers, flowing to this lake. And inside the city, there's small creeks already in the they're not in more rivers, creeks as it used to be, but they're in the canals. But some cities have these rivers inside. So we'd like to, on this research line, integrate NBS with conventional drainage and stormwater management infrastructure. I'm sorry, I missed. Did I miss something, or I'm out of time? I almost done.
I see.
Can you
No
hear me?
worries. No. Yes, Dr. Marquez, we can hear you. We're actually discussing with my colleagues right now. Sorry. We actually have a lot of
Okay,
questions that we have in our chat box. So it appears that our participants are truly engaged now with our speakers for today. So, Dr.
could
Marquez,
I?
thank you very
Yes.
much for your presentation.
Oh wow, I lost my time. So I lost my last point anyway.
It's okay. Do you still have 1 point, Dr. Marquez? We can still
Yeah,
accommodate you if you still have one more point.
I think
That's
it's
no
most
worries, no
important of
worries.
it.
Okay, you
Can
can
I
share your
finish?
last point, Dr. Marquez. Go ahead.
So what are you missing dealing with NBS? We are missing ecosystem services to include ecosystem service. Remember the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment 2005, published by the United Nations. So for wetlands, you have a large number of service, regulating service and supporting services that are important to water purification, climate regulation, disaster risk reduction, provisioning of habitat, nutrient cycling, and carbon sink. One example that they are using now ecosystem service as part of a natural-based solution. It's a large project that includes a watershed. This watershed has a lot is used for rice production. Perhaps we know the rice production in the Philippines, so rice fields, a lake, associated lake, and a wetland. So you have, first of all, the water production and runoff loaded with nutrients, pesticides, and herbicides. Part of this can be dealt in the lake itself, because the lake works like wastewater stabilization ponds, the same structure, the same function. And then the water goes through the wetland before its final destination. And the wetlands works like constructed wetlands. Actually, constructed wetlands are a mirror of part of a natural wetland, where the biofilm, a complex biofilm, develops on leaves, or part of the leaves are underwater. But there is a real problem to integrate ecosystem services as a natural-based solution for uh, this kind of a problem. It's a large-scale problem that involves large ecosystems, natural ecosystems. One problem is qualify the services. You need to qualify the service. The second point is quantify the services. So we need methods to quantify the services. But there's a lot of service out there, a lot of quantifying methods, but most of them not applicable, because perhaps they're not designed to quantify a specific service, the ones I mentioned right now. There's basically the, the water purification on a watershed scale. Uh, the next thing is to be sure that the ecosystems are resilient in providing the services. This needs to be quantified because when demand a service, you need to have the structure that provides that services. The, the service are provided by a system, and system is um, driven, or there's some limitations based on climate change, or the way you use the soil. So the best management practice, in this case, rice production and soybean production. When you have all this together, so the service qualified, the service quantified, and the resilience of the system that provides the services, you need to integrate this in water management best practices and regulations. But then comes the next problem. Regulations are really strict, sometimes out of any science reason. So we need to qualify the service, quantify the service, test the resilience of these services, and integrate them on water management on a watershed level to consider water purification. And then you go to adaptive management. So they are not strict rules. The rules are based on the services, the quantification of the service, and the resilience of providing these services. There's something is missing. So it's what you're missing in integrating ecosystem services as part of the natural basis solutions, at least on this case of management, on the management of a large-scale watershed and associated aquatic ecosystems with their structure and function and providing services. Well, I think this is it. These are my key points. Still, um, the government side is something that science is a different subject. They need to come together one day. Thank you for your attention. Sorry for taking too much of your time.
No worries, Dr. Marquez. It was very interesting, no? What you talk about the context of NBS in Brazil and how we can merge, no, science and society as well as the government in our advancement of nature-based solutions in our respective contexts. Thank you very much, Dr. Marquez. Even if you did not have a presentation, it was still very full of information, no? And we learned a lot from your, I think I can call it an address, no, or lecture for our viewers for today. Thank you very much, Dr. Marquez. So,
Welcome.
to our presenters for today, again, thank you very much for your rich presentations and insights. We hope we can have you now for our open forum. So, as I have mentioned earlier, no, I unintentionally cut Dr. Marquez midway through his lecture. We actually have a lot of questions in our open forum, and we'll try to see how we can accommodate as much as we can for this morning. So I guess we can start already with our first question. This first question is addressed to Miss Silva. Uh, Miss Silva, one of our questions is from Miss Catherine C. The question is, we have mangrove rehabilitation project in our municipality. Unfortunately, there are mangrove areas classified as alienable and disposable land with claimants. Can the government conduct actual survey of mangrove and revert its current classification to forest? That's her question.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Okay. So for the government to conduct actual survey, yes, we have our office conducting the actual survey of mangroves. So for mangroves, we have the Forest Management Bureau and the Biodiversity Management Bureau. So they should be going hand in hand with the actual survey for mangroves. And for the reversion to current classification to forest land, I think we have to leave this question to our Forest Management Bureau. This is one of the technical aspects they are covering. For the record as well, mangroves is part of our forests. So that's the classification that we have, our local classification that we have. So mangroves are part of our uh, greenhouse gas accounting in the under the forest and other land use sector.
Thank you, Ms. Silva.
I can leave
Uh,
the email of the Forest Management Bureau if they want email address, so they can contact the Forest Management Bureau.
Thank you very much, Ms. Silva. So for our next question is addressed to both our speakers. From Marvin Tejada of the Eastern Regional Organization for Planning and Human Settlements. His question is, how can nature-based solution project implementation and responsibility of stewardship be shared collaboratively with local government units that encompass coastal and riverine areas? Again, how can NbS project implementation and the responsibility of stewardship be shared collaboratively by local government units that encompass a coastal or riverine area? Maybe we can ask Dr. Marquez first for this question.
Well, from our example, if you don't get involved stakeholders, let's say the rice producers, big farms, you don't have any NbS solution. They need to be involved, deeply involved. And most of these people, they don't understand what ecosystem services. So you need to educate them first. That's something you are doing right now in the different side of the project. Try to learn from them, what they understand what is ecosystem service, and how this ecosystem service as a natural-based solution can help them to manage their best practice and also to achieve the regulations, because they have regulations to achieve. I'm talking about different, but I'm sure that when you deal with different communities, you have different approaches. But education is a basic thing. Most of the people don't understand these things are clear for us. So they need to be, let's say, educated, enlightened, to make sure they understand the principles, what are they doing, because most of the time you're doing things they don't understand. And this case I present to you is really typical of that. It's a large land. I mean, I'd say every year they grow 40,000 hectares of rice. So it's a lot. 70% of the rice produced in Brazil is produced in my home state. So give you the extent of it, the economic importance of it. So the economics comes also to this conversation. So stakeholders are the best part to deal with, and we need to take them in consideration, not giving them solutions that come from the top, but ask them to be part of it, work with us, or what does I mean? I'm a scientist, but with the government that implements these policies.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Marquez. Ms. Silva, for your response.
Yes, in addition to Dr. Marquez's answer, I think we have to look at it as at the priorities of the stakeholders. So let's say if the stakeholder is the community, vulnerable population, or they are part of those living under the poverty. So we have to look at the economic side to make them also be engaged with our NbS approaches. Let us have them look at it as an economic benefit for them as well, rather than just an ecosystem benefit for the community. So we have that case in point whenever we have the field study with our communities. They are not looking at the ecosystem side, we are looking at what's the benefit for us, for our food, for our economic needs. So that's one of our priorities if we are to engage all of our stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Silva, and I hope our speakers were able to address the question of Mr. Marvin Tejada on how stewardship and implementation can be collaboratively implemented with the LGUs. So I guess our next speaker is also our next question. I mean, are also addressed for both speakers. Um, how is the One Health approach defined in relation to environmental management? So I think the question is from Mr. Erwino Clavel. I think what he wanted to ask is how One Health approach can be integrated or implemented together with nature-based solutions. So for this one, we can have Ms. Silva for our first response.
Yes. This is actually related to my answer a while ago. So we are not just looking at it as the environmental benefit, we are looking at the co-benefits from our health system, because if we are to realize the people are actually not really for the environmental benefit, the prioritization would be the economic benefit, their health, and the environment. So the environment is just third or fourth. So we have to look at it as the interconnectedness of the health, of the economics, and push in the environmental benefits, so we can have the One Health approach to look at for our nature-based solutions. So we have that in our documents, that the communities is really not for the environment per se, as they are not looking it as of now. We just have to push in for the economic and health benefits for them to embrace our approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Marquez.
I agree full, Ms. Silva. Um, I don't. I have nothing to add. That it's pretty clear for us what people need or are expecting, and people that implement these policies need to take that in account. And not for a scientist, you're just dealing with small things compared with large stuff. But well, some of us deal with policies. One of my colleagues is dealing with policy where there's stakeholders, but still, um, we're not what we do doesn't fit what Ms. Silva mentioned about people. They're not they're not into science. You know, they need clear things right now. The future is something bleak. It's too far away. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marquez. Our next question, specifically for Ms. Silva, but I think we can expand the question, no? The question is, what are the challenges faced by local government units in accessing the People's Survival Fund? So, for the context of Dr. Marquez, the People's Survival Fund is a climate financing mechanism by the Philippine government, no, so that they can access funding for climate adaptation and mitigation activities. Maybe this is from Miss Annie Diola. So maybe we can reframe the question in general, no, like what are the challenges local government units face in accessing climate financing, and what solutions would you recommend for this one? We can have Dr. Marquez na lang siguro, I guess, because Miss Silva answered the for question first, no, previously. So we can have Dr. Marquez for this one naman.
Should I start? Well, in 2024, we had a major climate disaster in the state. Um, well, our capital was covered by water. The water was touching the airplanes' bellies. And after that, agriculture stopped, everything stopped in the state for a month, 6 months at least. And after that, the state government based on the federal government, established several funds to help people to recover from this. All kinds of funds, including housing for not well economic people. So there is it needs to be done pretty quick. In fact, there was no planning for this. We didn't expect this kind of disaster. Perhaps apparently in Philippines have all these climate things really frequently. Not for us. This is brand new. And the quick response for the government was really needed. And currently, we still don't, we are not back to the tracks where it's supposed to be before the disaster. So we need to have programs not now that we know that there's these events can happen again and again and again, to have this in place, to have people, not just the big industry, the big grain producing stakeholders, regular people that live alongside the rivers, small economics, all this need to be considered. And as I mentioned, a very important part of it was um, thousands of people were removed and lost everything. So they need to be reallocated. Where to reallocate them? In the same place. You need to send them back to the same place. So these are really complex systems. And the state government, the federal government established uh, uh, working groups that dealing not just the practical things, but also using science to help to improve decisions on what to do after these events, and how to promote plans, to develop plans for the next event that it's coming. It definitely would come. So you need to be prepared for that. And the government needs to be really fast and have some money to put in and to help people, because large economics suffer, but they recover in different ways than the small economics or small people. So the different lines of support we need to have in place. Based on our example, it's 2024, not that long ago. Okay, just one thing on this event, all our cities cover has a dike that supposed to control flooding, because the cities built on old wetlands didn't work. So all the infrastructure needs to be ready and working. And also, again, governments are not really prepared to invest in things that need to be in place for long term without being used. So it's based on our example. Thanks.
Sir
Thank
Kyle,
you very
can I
much, Dr.
answer?
Marquez. Yes po, Ms. Silva, please do.
Yes. Just to correct lang po, the People Survival Fund is only for the climate adaptation projects, not for the mitigation, because
Okay.
adaptation is the anchor strategy of the Philippines. So from the government side, we see actually the LGU's technical and institutional capacity in the conduct of the needed documentaries. So actually, that's one of the challenges in accessing the People Survival Fund. Number one is the LGUs lack the technical capacity on the climate risk and vulnerability assessment. Also, they lack also the scientific data and technical capacity in the preparation of their local climate change action plan. So that's one. And the last would be they are most likely to lack the technical staff to handle all these technical capacity for the disaster, for the climate, because they require GIS, they require hazard mapping and all. So that's one of the institutional gap that we have for our underutilized PSF proposals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silva. So maybe
It looks
we
so
try to
similar to
group,
us anyway.
yes, Dr. Marquez, yes po.
I just mentioned looks like the same problem we have. So climate adaptation is now on our horizon on these working groups and actions of federal government and state government. For instance, the state government ask for a large number of specialists from the universities that deal with these aspects of hydrology, climatology, and so on, to form a support group for government decision on this either adaptation or recovery of systems to recover the state.
Thank you very much. I see no, that Philippines and Brazil really do have not just similar context, no, but also similar barriers as well, no, in accessing climate financing. So for our questions, well, we tried to group them into similar context. So we, as much as possible, by asking one question, we try to in a way respond, no, for our speakers the other set of questions. So I guess for this open forum, our last question will be from Ms. Sarah Jean Espulgar. Uh, for both speakers, how can we promote green spaces in our urban areas? So again, our question is, how can we promote green spaces in our urban areas? So maybe we can ask Ms. Silva to answer for this question first.
The question is actually difficult. As mentioned a while ago by Dr. Marquez, we have a space limitation for our urban areas. But I think if we are to look at the pandemic side, when we were in the COVID-19 era, we have these urban gardens, if I'm not mistaken. Just to make us recall, we have these urban gardens where we planted for our food. So why not make it part of our pocket urban gardens? We if I'm not mistaken, the media mainstream the urban gardens that we have during the pandemic, and they thrive. We survive for our food, and we also have cleaner air that time. So maybe we can make that go back from our homes and even for our idle lands, uh, just so that we just have to make the permission for us to plant in that areas. So that's the brief thing that I can think of right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silva. Dr. Marquez.
Well, as I mentioned before, already existing urban areas, they are really short on any possibility to increase green areas. They need to reuse them, retrofit them to the current problems. And sometimes retrofitting means lose part of the public space for enjoyment. This is true. The other thing is you still have this small methodologies like green roofs. So green roofs are really easy to implement. It's just a question of the government ask people have some action to increment the use of green roofing in the current buildings. It's not easy to implement. They're quite efficient to hold part of the water in place, and then, trust me, treat part of the water, the rainwater. The rainwater has a lot of PCBs. That's, for example, anything that's burned in your car goes to the atmosphere and comes down through the rain. And these green roofs are being proved to hold part of these pollutants before the water drains to the drainage system, goes to the final destination, that's our rivers. So green roofing is a good option. And buildings have large roofs, so it could be used properly by the use of more habitats of that building. Uh, I've noticed some good interest in rain gardens. Rain gardens is just your backyard, uh, more or less tailored to uh, infiltrate more water before it drains to the drainage system. So there's an option, but there are not too many options available on the current urban areas already established. But there's a good chance that new developed areas could include more green space. Um, that's a matter of organization, county organization, specific laws for that. So it's above the scientists' level. That's the policy, long-term policy. But still, you can retrofit things and get them better on what they do. Um, that's more or less. Well, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marquez. So thank you very much for the participation of our participants in the open forum. So that concludes our question and answer portions for our episode for today. So thank you everyone for the questions that you have submitted. For those we didn't get to answer today, don't worry, we can compile them and and then send the same questions to our speakers, and we can provide their responses to you after the episode. You can also connect with us through the INREM Facebook page or our LinkedIn account, or simply drop us an email. So again, thank you very much to Ms. Silva and Dr. Marquez, and of course to our highly engaged participants. So I'd like to give to recognize the time provided to us by Dr. Marquez. So for the information of everyone, it is already 11:30 in the evening in Brazil right now. And so
Yeah,
that's why thank you very much, Dr. Marquez, for your effort for
you're
attending
welcome.
our webinar series.
Uh, I hope this is a beginning of a good relationship or collaboration with the Philippine scientists on NbS. It's just a link. So drop me a note and I can spread that on our institute. And thanks again the Brazilian embassy to make possible this contact, and also the University of Philippines to make this wonderful webinar. Thank you. And thank you
Thank you very
for the listeners and the part of people that participate on the webinar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marquez. So for our next part of our episode for today is the awarding of certificates of appreciation. So again, on behalf of UPLB-INREM and the Embassy of Brazil in Manila, we are honored to present these certificates of appreciation to Ms. Silva first for sharing their invaluable knowledge and expertise during the seventh episode of the INREM 360 webinar series entitled The Role of Nature-Based Solutions and Ecosystem-Based Approaches in Climate Resilience Building, Perspectives from Brazil and the Philippines, organized by UPLB INREM and the Embassy of Brazil in Manila on the 2nd of June 2026. This will also be signed by His Excellency Ambassador de Mora and already signed by Dr. Villamayor. The same certificate is awarded to Dr. David Mota Marquez for his rich address on the context of NbS in Brazil. Again, the certificate will also be signed by His Excellency Ambassador de Mora and Dr. Villamayor. So once again, thank you very much to Ms. Silva and Dr. Marquez for being a very important part of today's success. So for the final part of our webinar episode, let us hear the closing remarks from the Director of UPLB-INREM, Dr. Maricel T. Villamayor.
Hello, Kyle. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I think I need to fix my camera. All right. So good morning, everyone, and a good evening to our friends on the other side of the world in Brazil. Once again, we have concluded another powerful episode of INREM 360. Today, we journeyed across continents, from Brazil to the Philippines, to learn how nature-based solutions and ecosystem-based approaches are building real climate resilience. My deepest gratitude to the Embassy of Brazil in the Philippines, represented by First Secretary Juan Oliveira Bonfim, for your meaningful opening remarks earlier. And of course, to Ms. Liza C. Silva from DNR Climate Change Service, ma'am, thank you. And Dr. David Mota Marquez of Federal University of Rio de Grande do Sul from Brazil for sharing your invaluable expertise. You have enriched us all. And I would like to apologize to Dr. Marquez earlier because there was a brief accidental opening of the microphone, so it was not intended to prematurely cut your talk. If there is one truth this webinar has reminded us is that climate crisis is here, and that the question is no longer if we will act, but how fast are we going to act. Nature-based solutions offer a proven and powerful path forward, and challenges remain. NbS will always compete with other land uses and policy priorities as raised during the Q&A. But this competition is not a dead end. It is a call to integrate, to innovate, and to elevate nature as a core solution, not an afterthought. On the part of the Philippines, we have seen how local action grounded in science and community and embodied in ongoing efforts like the National Greening Program continues to drive meaningful progress in NbS. And as Dr. Marquez beautifully explained earlier, nature-based solutions require large areas that follow nature's processes. There are no shortcuts around ecology. He also reminded us that these solutions are not entirely new, like the examples that he shared, water lagoons, constructed wetlands, and similar approaches that have been implemented long ago before they were even called or known as NbS. We are deeply grateful for the opportunity to have these conversations on a platform like INREM 360. And definitely, Dr. Marquez, this could be the start of our working together with experts like you from Brazil as we move from dialogue to genuine collaboration. INREM 360 is a space not just to talk, but to connect the what, the how, and the why. From the questions our participants have raised earlier, it's clear we already know the answer. We already know the direction, the way to go. But the real question is, how do we get there? And that's precisely why this discussion matters. We are not just talking, we are making the case known for NbS. And the next steps is to take what we have learned today, the science, the stories, and the evidence, and bring it to the decision makers. It's time to lobby, to advocate, and to act. So to our loyal 300 INREM 360 participants, there are 200 plus of you today. Thank you very much for your continued support, your enthusiasm, and your commitment to this discourse. And to the entire INREM staff, again, thank you very much for making another episode, not just possible, but meaningful. So as we close this episode, let us not leave our learning behind. Let us translate every insight into action on the ground, and let us continue to rally for NbS implementation that is bold, just, and lasting. Because as Ma'am Silva so rightly stressed earlier, NbS is not just for the environment, it is for the people. So marami pong salamat sa inyong lahat at magandang araw. Thank you very much.
Thank you po. Ma'am, can you stay for a bit lang po? And we would like to request Mr. Bonfim for a short photo op with our speakers for today. And can we spotlight also Mr. Bonfim? And okay po. Short, small, as bright smile po from our organizers po as well. 1, 2, 3. Okay na te. One more time po. Thank you very much po. So again, for our avid viewers, thank you very much for attending another INREM 360 webinar series episode. So thank you very much, Ma'am Asel po, for your meaningful message and challenging us to strongly champion NbS. And we are clearly grateful for your presence and support. So we'd like to humbly apologize for we have extended a bit from our supposedly 10:30 episode ending, but we would like to uh, recognize our speakers for the immensely fruitful discussions for today. So, in our effort to continuously improve our services, we'd like to know your feedback for today's webinar, particularly on what went well and how we can further enhance our future episodes. You may access the evaluation form by scanning the QR code on your screen. The link is also available in the chat box, which you can click the link now for our evaluation form. So for more details, please visit inrem.cfnr.uplb.edu.ph or follow us on our Facebook and YouTube accounts. For more information about for our Inrem 360 webinar series. So I guess we can just plug our next episode this coming August. So in August, we will be celebrating the foundation of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which was established in August 8th. So for that, we will join in the celebration by staging the eighth episode of the Inland 360 webinar series entitled One ASEAN Ecosystem, Harnessing Nature-Based Solutions for Resilience, Food Security, Biodiversity, and Transboundary Integration. So again, from the fields of the Philippines to your screens around the world, thank you once again for being part of this year's webinar. And yes, it has been more than a year, no? In 360 partnerships, no? We had our first episode in April of 2025. So we're now going strong for our seventh episode. So again, until the next episode, let us keep co-creating knowledge, crossing disciplines, and building futures that thrive in nature. For our speakers, thank you very much, and I hope this is the beginning of a strong collaboration on nature-based solutions. Again, this is Kyle Simpson, and this has been Interim 360. Thank you very much po. Thank you very much, Mr. Bonfin, Dr.
Thank you
Marquez,
very
and Ms.
much.
Silva
Thank
for
you very
joining
much
us
for
today.
you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank
See
you.
you again.
Thank
All
you
the
Bye-bye.
po.
best.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Professor
See you
David.
soon.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Thank you
Professor.
po.
Thank
See
you.
you. One.
See you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Stay in touch.
Thank you
We
po.
will keep in touch. Thank you.
Yes, please, let's develop this, unfold this initiative into something even bigger.
Yes,
And
yes.
yes,
We-
we saw that we have so many qualified people, such as Professor David, Marcus, and so much in common. So I believe that it's my duty as a diplomat to build bridges. And I believe we have all the commonalities, many things in common to explore. So yes, let's develop this initiative. Not
Thank you very much.
restrain
Waiting for
it
this.
to just one webinar. Let's develop it to
Yes.
concrete projects. Yes.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
First Secretary. Definitely, this is the
Thank you.
beginning of a collaboration between Philippines
Yes.
and Brazil.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for you all from UPLB-INREM, Professor Marques, again, the government of the state of Rio Grande do Sul. And yes, I hope to see you soon.
All
Yep.
right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All the best. Waiting
All the
for you.
best. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right. Bye-bye. And we'll keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you po, Sir
Thank you very
Kyle.
much, Ms. Silva. Thank you very much po.
Yes, thank you very much, Ma'am Silva.
Thank you
And
po.
regards to
Thank you
everyone
po.
at the DNR.
Apa. Thank you po.
Thank you po. So for our participants, we will keep this webinar open until 10:50, so you may be able to answer our evaluation form. Thank you very much po.